my screen is ready to be shared. Awesome. So yeah, so I assume you all have like Android Studio installed. I will be using the stable version of Android Studio. So first things first, I assume the basics about Android Studio already covered. So what we'll be trying to build, I'll try and build, this is an app which we'll try and develop over the course of the next weeks. I think a to-do app or a notes app is usually the go-to fast app because you can always extend its functionality to be whatever kind of note-taking app you want it to be. Yeah, so we'll call this it's yeah, not really innovative, but it works. Yeah, and we wait for Plato. Yeah, so Gradle has to sync. Let's give it a couple of seconds.
With a little of Zoom.
Okay, now I'm not sure if that will be possible with my screen. Okay, let's see. I can actually zoom Android Studio. Just give me a sec. I think I can view. Yes, what does this do? Okay, not the best experience. What else do we have here? I'm not really sure if this will be possible because the screen is quite huge. Let's see.
That's better. That's visible, David.
No, but it's not showing what I want it to show. That's the issue I have with this. No, this mode. Because I also want to have the project structure shown alongside what I'm doing. Also, that when it comes to the design, to be also bring a couple of issues when we use it in this mode. How do I really make this? Let me try and exit presentation mode. Yeah, a sec, because I have never had to zoom in on Android Studio, so I'll have to. So this is something I'll have to look up.
You can increase the font size.
But the font size will only increase the size of the code files. I want like the whole Android Studio to be huge.
Okay.
Yeah. What font size? No, oh, difference. Not zooming the window and the whole Android Studio to be huge. Okay, I can try the font size, but I'm not sure if it will achieve what I'm looking for. Let's see. Yeah, let's say that. Yeah, font size. Is there something to do with size? Okay. But no, no, no change. Do I have to restart this? Yeah, I want this whole thing to be huge. I think font size will do it. So I can't remember what it was. Let's see. Open on the studio. This is not what I'm looking for. Okay, presentation mode is seems to be what. Yeah, this seems to be the only. Let's see if I can actually make it huger, bigger from the system settings. Just a sec. Can't see anything to do with. Okay, yeah, I think I'll just then work with presentation mode until I figure out an alternative. Yeah, but this will. Yeah, this kind of sucks. Just have, I have, of course, I once did this, but can't remember how I did it. Make no, this is all wrong. To increase editor. Increase editor font size. All of these are pointing me to what I want. And to increase editor size. Let me try. Yeah. Oh, while I tried zooming in, nothing happens. That's it. Very much. You need to actually start it once I try different font. We start it and see. It's changing. waiting for it to open up. What about the project? Yeah, okay. For the project zone, you just have to work with it as it is. Yeah, so I assume all this was kind of covered, like the IDE and everything. So I won't be doing that. I'll just dive in straight to running this app to have a feel of where it is and what we'll do with it. So this is just the default Hello World app. So when we run the default Hello World app, we get, okay, nothing yet. Good. I did this. Click to see all the tasks. Okay, yeah, so we wait for Gradle to do this thing. But so, okay, it's finally installing launch. And let's switch from and yeah, so we have our Hello World app. And so this is the screen which, like, all the apps you use or the apps you interact with, they have this screen, what the user like will interact with. And we call those activities. Okay, yeah, for now, I think we'll focus on the activities first. There are other screen, um, there are other components which also provide like content for the screen. They're called fragments, but I think first you have to start with activities. So yeah, this usually just represents like a screen, and they have this layout attached to them. So there's usually this line of code called set content view. It could be, yeah, it could, you might either, when you go to an Android code base, this is like the head of the snake. So you might see this set content view, or you might see some people have it like over here. That is also valid. If you actually do that, you can remove this. So they kind of like do the same thing. So yeah, this is the activities now where the logic for all the screen stuff the scene lives. Whenever you create your first default Android app, you're going to see it, main activity. Just similar to how you, when you create like and the normal Kotlin project, you see fun main, or if you're doing Java, the public static void main stuff. So this is like the main when it comes to Android. You can name it to something else and it still work. You just have to do a couple of changes somewhere. We'll see it later. So this layout is attached to it, and yeah, there's this little icon over here. You can just like click on it and go to this layout over here, and bam. So this is actually where the screen content kind of lives. They're called layouts, and they're in XML. So yeah, XML is how we write our UI related content as of now. Still relevant as much as Java Compose is being pushed. XML is still as relevant. Yeah, for and it still will be for some time. Um, so I'm going to I'm not sure if this package structures are all explained, but I'll just, since I'm more focusing on the layouts and like the activity uh, stuff and some code logic, I'll just focus on what the layout is. So whenever you create like a new screen, be it an activity or whatever the fragments that I briefly mentioned, we have this layout, and this is where we put all those files in. All of them are XMLs, and this UI or this screen that the user actually sees, yeah, basically looks like this. This is how the code looks like. You can have a split view where you can actually see the, the, the the screen that you're working on and the code itself. And how do we like align stuff? How do we add this text? How do we change the color? Maybe I want my background to be red and all that stuff. So we have a couple of different types of, we call them views. We have different types of views for different purposes. So for example, if you look at this view, you might see it's called a text view. So its purpose is like handling all text related information, from like body text, like whenever we send that tweet, that WhatsApp message or whatever, there's like some text in it. That's yeah, like 99% chance, 90% chance it's a text view, because that's all text views do. They handle text, from headings to titles to names to that number you're seeing. Anything you're seeing, chances are it's a text view if it's a native app. But then again, we need to like order this content in some way. I mean, for example, it could be ordered from like top to bottom, left to right, or just some very weird kind of arrangement of things. And those are called view groups. So view groups group views basically. So like this text view, this is a view, and this what's being called a constraint layout is what we call a view group. So they help us group these views. Yeah. And what are some of these views and view groups? So there's this really cool stuff on Android Studio where you can just yeah, you can even build this UI drag and drop. Um, some people don't like doing it that way. Other people have different ideas about it. So yeah, it depends with whatever makes you feel comfortable. So yeah, yeah. If you come to the design view, you'll see there's this tab called palette with every different type of. If you want text, you have things to do with text. If you want a password, an email, phone, date, number, you can just go crazy and pick whatever it is you want. For buttons, yeah, we have different types of buttons. The normal buttons, like a submit button or a button with an image, or chips. I can't think of an app which uses chips. There's some noise coming. Can't tell who's. Could you like all like mute your mics? Okay, thanks. Yeah, so we have this chip. Um, yeah, the chip is like, I can't think of an app that has chips. Uh, yeah, but yeah, probably you'll see it at some point when we dive deeper into material design kind of things. A checkbox, I think, is very common. Get the idea. Radio button, radio groups, pretty much. You, you- this I usually use when you want to just like select one thing from a group of stuff compared to checkboxes. So yeah, when you want to use a checkbox, make sure the the place we're using the checkbox, this is a situation where the person can select like multiple options. And what else do we have? Toggle button. Yeah, a switch. I think this is mostly seen in settings. Yeah, floating action button. If you've used, I think, almost any social media app, you've seen this a lot of times. So yeah, there are like different types of buttons, different types of things to do with text. For layouts, also what I was referring to as view groups, we have like constraint layout, linear, frame. I really can't see. I don't know why I can't see others like relative. So I'm just going to talk briefly about what these are. Because I realized, yeah, we were actually supposed to do like layouts, I think the next session, but I think for me to actually introduce Android, I'll have to combine those two. So I guess that's good because we'll have time to do other cool topics. So I'll start with explaining what constraint layout is. So this is we try and align or arrange things according to its relation to another thing. So this might seem confusing, so let me just try and drop something here. We have something on the screen. So we have this text view one, and you have this called hello world. So what constraint layout does is, yeah, it just tries to attach constraints based on where another view is. For example, I can say I want this. We want this to be below this always. Or for example, if you look at your chat app, like WhatsApp, they always have the name on the right of the image. Okay, for like and most of the time. So you can this was actually like an image, and this was actually like your text view. You'd like say I want my text view to be to the right of this, or you want my text view to be to the bottom of this, or my text view to be to the top of this. So hope you get the vibe of the logic behind constraint layout. So we try and constrain it to, so you can just come, see this little arrow and say I want it to be to the bottom of this, and that's it. I've constrained it to the bottom, I think. Yeah. So now you can, if I click back on it, you can notice like initially it was constrained to the top because there's nothing in the whole screen, but now it's like to the bottom of this. And yeah, if I want it to be on the right as well, I can like just come over here and say I want it to be to the right. So yeah, it's at the bottom, then push to the right. So that's the constraint layout. Has a lot of things with it. It has its benefits. We've used relative layout. Maybe it's not that new to you. So also relative layout has almost the same logic behind it. But yeah, constraint layout is a very huge topic, and that was just like a brief overview of how it looks like. The other type of layout we have is this linear layout, and I think you from its name, like it just arranges things linearly, either top to bottom, left to right, and let's say you can actually, I'll have to like delete all this. Yeah, delete all this. Then start afresh. Yeah, I don't think I can. Linear layout, I can just, let's say, drop it over here. So this is a horizontal linear layout. So whenever I add things, like if I come take a text view, drop it, I expect things to be arranged in a, you can see like things are being arranged horizontally. Right? Then if you want things to be arranged like top to bottom, just take the linear layout vertical, boom, drop it over there. Yeah, and all your things will be top to bottom. And another most used one, I think, is frame layout. Yeah, I'm only going to like touch on what I feel is used most of the time. So that's constraint, uh, probably relative. If you understand constraint layout, I think also relative layout would be that much of a challenge to get started with it. Linear layout is heavily used. I don't think that will ever be deprecated. Then there's frame layout. So what frame layout does is just like a frame and a picture. I can just think of it like it puts something on top of another thing, and I think for you to actually see how this is, I'll need to use I'll need to use, I think, an image view. So yeah, so as I was saying, there's like a view for almost everything. For example, if I need an image, I can just come here and take image view, drop it over there. Okay. Oops, what did I do? So this, yeah, we'll look at images and this image views another time. This is just for demonstration purposes. So I want it to have like a color. Let me just give it like a random. Just give it like a random color. Ah, not that. So this is, I need to also give it a height. Just let me just give things random column to show what framework does. Yeah, this is this. So if you actually create another one, oops. So if you actually have, let me add another image view over here with a different color. Then I can just duplicate this. I'll just duplicate this. Yes, image view 2, change its color to, I don't know, like, what color is that? Okay. Yeah, so you can see like this too. So you've actually used a frame. Let me make this smaller to actually see the difference. So if I try and put this, so I don't have the frame layout just yet. You can see one, it will only, if I try and put one on top of the other, it won't like show whatever's at the bottom will be kind of hidden. So if I go to layouts, frame layout, and add frame layout over there, add this over there, add this over there. So yeah, now you can see like I can get the what frame layout is about. I can just like overlap things on top of other things without like hiding them and stuff. Yeah, so these are like the most common layouts of view groups that you'll see. Table layout, yeah, yeah, unless you're working on like legacy code. Let's see what else. Oh, okay. Oh, it's funny that they actually put relative layout under legacy. Oh yeah, this other, I've never worked with tab host. Yeah, and for other things like grid layout, list view, grid view, we have things in place for this. We'll see it in later whatever is later jam sessions. For Google, yeah, there's like map view. You want to like drop a map, add views. What else is cool? Yeah, these are some constraint layout things. So as I said, constraint layout is quite a topic. I can only like touch on the high level stuff. Containers, let's see. Yeah, we might do a bit of material design and look at like cards and what else? I think it's just cards and maybe circular wheels and upper. Yeah, the rest I think you can just learn on the job or learn as you grow. Yeah, because chances are you won't use like all these different types of views. The ones I'm talking about are the ones which mostly use, and you can actually build something um, with it. And yeah, so now let's try and start building our notes app. Um, so I mentioned the activity, and we have, oh, there's also this very important file. So like as I said, you can even change this name. It doesn't necessarily have to be called main activity. You can change its name if you want to, but you have to go to this file called the Android manifest. So think of this as the ID to your app. It has like the package name that's unique in the Play Store, or where the icons can be found. Yeah, do you support like right to left? If you ever find yourself needing to support, Arab locales or something, yeah, this is a very important field. Um, then we have this thing called intent filter. So this intent filter is where we so this is what will your app will like listen. So the system like emits certain events. For example, if your battery is, let's say, imagine if your battery is going low, like it's at 10 or 15%, usually you get like some notification like you need to charge your phone, or and then you might notice some apps react to such changes in a certain way. So how this app's able to pick up these changes is through these intent filters, and there are a bunch of intent filters, depends on what you want to do. And the first ones that you'll encounter when you start Android are these two. So this I usually use to launch your app. So you have whenever your app is any app actually is installed from anywhere, from App Store, from Android Studio, you have your icon on the screen. And once you tap on your like app icon, there's some events that are like sent, and these two filters are what actually are able to locate like the activity, your main, like the head, like I call it the head of the snake, and they know like this is where we launch from. This is where we'll actually open the app from. So that's the main purpose of having these two. So yeah, if you actually rename your main activity to something else, you also need to come here and like change that too and point it to which activity should actually open this app when we tap on your app's icon. And yeah, that's like the high level on this is a very basic, simple manifest. And yeah, so we want to try and build a notes app, and hopefully extend its functionality to be as big as it can get. I think, yeah, that's usually like a notes app is like it's like the hello world of Android apps. So yeah, it depends on how complex it gets, but for starters, it's really a very good place to flex your learning muscles. And we will start with creating the layout for our notes app, and that will be here. So yeah, now we have this empty blank canvas, and I think the first thing that we need here is a text box to write the note, right? And a button where we can just like press and then like save our note. So for this part, we won't be doing any saving. We'll just like store it in a list or something, and then display it in a text view to make life simple. So if you want to actually have like a text box that you can just like create things in, we can use plain text, or we have plain text over here. So personally, I don't use the design tab. I'm more the code. Yeah, I'm more used to using this. Oops, I didn't delete this. Yeah, I also won't be using Constraint Cloud. I think it's not the best to get started with. We just use something simple for now. A linear not too long. So we'll just have like a screen with a text box, a button, and something to display this text. And then we have our, okay, not linear layout compiler, just need, oh, okay. You know what? Let's do this. Let's start from scratch. Have linear layouts. Yeah, I'm just used to writing it all. I'm not used to doing the design. And, um, what else? I think it's missing Android. Um, um, so we will need to create a text box for our web content, and this is where we'll write our notes. So we have this thing called edit text. So most forms you see, they use like edit text to create whatever form like thing you want to see. Once we look at material design, we may look at how to make it more prettier, but for now, we don't care about it being pretty and everything. We'll do all the cool, pretty stuff later on once we have the base foundations unlocked. So you can put in a hint like enter your thoughts. What else do we need? We need to, let me see. Yeah, we need to see it's an input type. So what this input type does is, and yeah, you can like say, do you want it, is it like a password? Is it someone's name? Is it like a link? Is it something that needs to be auto-completed? Is it a date? And it'll handle it depending on the type of thing you're putting there, but you say it's text. I'm gonna call it, yeah, just put text. Let me see if there's any other important thing about yeah, so also one thing with linear layout, since I didn't grab the drop, I'll have to also put this manually for myself. It's the orientation. It's vertical, meaning it's going to be from the top to the bottom. I can't think of anything else. Let me see what are they telling me? Missing out of field means attribute. Okay, I can just ignore that for now. Yeah, hard coding. Yeah, also, yeah, it's something which you shouldn't worry about now, but best practice is not to hard code this. There's a file which you can actually put this in. So in values, there's the strings, and I can actually come here and actually, I think I'll just do it right now. Instead of learning best practices earlier on, and then we'll call this hint, enter your thoughts. That's like how we'll be able to find it. It's like an ID. and we put in our string here, call it enter logs. So this makes it easy to translate it. Like say if your app has like 10, 30, 40 languages, whenever we call this ID with all those languages, they'll just have the same, they'll have, all of them will have the same ID, but different like kind of languages or strings over here, value. So I'll just come over here and change this and say string print the name. I think we need to also give it a bit of space. So we want to give something a bit of space on its out. Yeah, I want like it to be a bit, to push it a bit away from the ends, like the top and the sides. So you can always use this margin. You're going to give something a bit of space, and I'll put in like 16. Yeah, I also want this to be a bit tall or something. I want this, actually want this to be a bit long. So I'm going to say minimum width. I'm not sure if that will work. Probably I need to. Yeah, I think this is it. Then we now need our button. Drop content. So yeah, you might have noticed I've been using these values by now called match parent and drop content. Yeah, if you're not familiar what this is, match parent just means it's going to match. So this is the view group, right? Like this is like the one that's holding everything, and it's taking up the whole screen, right? It's like from start to end, top to bottom, right? So this is like the whole, like it's taking up the whole screen. So it's currently the parent to these two views. So when I actually put match parent on these two views, it means it's going to match the width of its parent, and the parent of these two views is this linear layout. So the width is match parent, and the layout width here is match parent, and that's why it's taking like a full, it's taking like the whole screen size in terms of width. When it comes to wrap content, it means it will only be as long as the content that holds it. For example, when you write a really short text and a really long text, like they have different kind of heights. So that's what wrap content looks like. It will only be as tall as long as the text. Yeah, so that's it with wrap content and match parent. Let me see what's new here. Yeah, there's this DP unit, density pixels. So in Android, if you're coming from web or you're familiar with it, you might probably see them use pixels. We don't use pixels on Android because it won't look good across a couple of devices. So we have this unit called density pixels. So the phone will try and convert this, just like say the DP, into convert it according to if it's a tablet, if it's a 3-inch phone or a 7-inch or a 6-inch phone, it'll just convert it to the right pixels for that screen size. So yeah, I think I've pretty much explained everything that's on this, but I need to explain about everything that I've done. Now we can wrap this up with text is submit. Yeah, submit some to save. Yeah, it's kind of like more of a form. So another, some attributes you can just like discover and play around with them. That's how I also like, that's how I discover new things about views. And that's like it's control or CTRL plus the spacebar, and you can like look at all the possible things you can do. Do you want to change like the text appearance, the text color, visibility? Do you want to hide it? Do you want to show it? trying to align it in some way and stuff. So there's like a lot of this stuff. You can just, yeah, how I discover new stuff is just by playing around, breaking stuff, and yeah, until I find something that works. So let's see. I want to move this to the center here. So I think there's something called, so when you're using linear layout, you have something called layout gravity, and I can put it in the center, and boom. That's awesome. And now when we run our app, we should be able to see like our new screen with the text area and the button. Cool, 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 cool. Yeah, it's a bit short. I think I'll do this. We just hard code the value here. Uh, ah, actually, I think I'll just leave it like this. What I wanted to do is do this. And there are a lot of things you can do with linear layouts. I'll just like encourage you to explore it a bit more. So now we want to add some logic. I think I'm missing one more view, and this is where we'll be displaying our. So if you remember text view, that's where we display text. This is now where we'll be displaying whatever thoughts we put in. And I'm going to put the visibility to visible. So we only make it visible once we have something to show. So we have our three stuff. I think I'll also add a bit of margins to this. A bit of margin to this. Okay, nicely spaced out. So the idea will be someone writes something, they hit save, and we show their thoughts over here. And how do we actually do that and hook up the logic? So remember we said we have this activity and it's hooked to a layout file, this one over here. So we will try and see how we can access these three views and update them from here. So we start that by giving this IDs. So an ID is what will help you be able to access this from code. So this will be called enter your thoughts in the text. And this will be called send your, oh, not send, save. Save your thoughts. And this will be view your thoughts. So it's really good to have like some form of convention when you're naming this views. Yeah, makes you look professional also. It can make a difference when someone is actually reviewing your code or in an interview or something. Yeah, makes you look more like someone who's like tidy, professional, they know what they're doing, and they don't like messy code. Yeah, so we will try and access them. So the first thing we'll try and access is the edit text. So I think it was enter thoughts edit text. So I want to call it leave the same. Okay. And find ID and So here you specify the type of the view, then you put in the ID and you put the text, and that's it. Import this. Perfect. Yes. Next is what did you have? Save your thoughts button. Yeah. Save your thoughts button, and you find the view by that ID, and it's a button, and um, button done. Yes. Next we have yeah. So yeah. Yeah, you might have noticed I kind of pressed something and everything got aligned. It's a really neat shortcut. I think it's, if you ever find yourself writing, also another way to make yourself look professional, have your code like ordered out. The IDE can do that for you. I think the shortcut is Control Alt L. I think I can't. I don't know. I think my fingers just like a reflex or something. Let me see. Let me try it and see what I should do. Yeah, I think it's Control Alt L for Windows or Linux, and Command Option L if you are using a Mac. So next is this view your thoughts text view, and view your thoughts view, and find the ID text view, text view, on the view your thoughts text view. Awesome. So now we can actually manipulate these things from code now. So we want once someone types something in, save your thoughts, we want to take that, take the whatever it is they typed and set it to this and clear it out, and yeah, that's it. So how do we do this? Since now we can access everything, let's go to save your thoughts button. Then there's something called an on-click listener. All views have on-click listeners. So if someone taps on a view and you want them to, if someone taps on a button, taps on a text view, taps on just anything, and you want to like react to it, we have set on-click listener. So yeah, we can actually do some code or execute some code when someone taps it. Yeah, so we want to take the text. Okay, this is some new. We want to access the text. So we want to get the text. I think I'll have to send it to string. So this is your thoughts text, and then if your thoughts text is null blank, null empty. I think we have these Kotlin extension functions. Or not now, maybe it is okay. Let's go with. We have a bunch of handy extension functions for text and stuff. So if your thoughts text is not blank, not blank, then okay, what's up now? Yeah. Yeah, there's like an extension function for almost everything. So yeah, if your thoughts text is not blank, then we can like, I don't know, save it. Yeah, we can like save it and display it on your, what is it? Display it on the view, your thoughts text view. view your thoughts text view, we can set the text to your thoughts text. That should actually work. Then we can then clear your thoughts edit text, set the text, and then clear out the thoughts for fresh new thing. So if we actually run this, let's see if it works. So yeah, I come here, I write, I want to it browse, and I save it. Okay. Yeah, so like I think it cleared it out. Our text is, oh, I remember why it's not, so we had set it to invisible. So I think I'll have to change the visibility of this to be visible. So I'm going to set this to visible. The thoughts, visibility, and that's how you make something visible and invisible. And let's see. Yeah. Points. Yeah, and yeah, it clears it out and adds more text here. You can add something like and yeah. So that's pretty much how we like try and build a screen, how we build a screen, how we hook it up and add logic to it. Yeah, I think I've talked about a bunch of things. I'll let it sink in if you're new to completely like new to Android. I think that was quite a lot. So I'll let it sink unless someone has like questions or they want to see something being done. I'm going to take a pause from here and yeah, next time we can do more with this layout, this app to make it better. So does anyone have questions? They want to know something?
Okay. If you have a question, you can maybe unmute yourself or use the chat section. David, I had a question. On the set on click listener, there's gray text that says each view. What's that?
Okay. So in Kotlin, we have things called high order functions. And let me see how, like, I think I'll need to create a little high order function over here before I actually go to on click listener. So let's say we have a function and let's call it a random function. So this is the random function and okay, this is the normal function, right? But if I decide to make it a high order function, let's say it takes I don't know, let's say it takes a block of code, and let's say our function will be taking a number and returning maybe it's taking a number and doing something with the number. So if you actually come here and call it a random function, yeah. So you can think of this as the parameter that was passed in to the function, as you can see here. So this is now the view that was passed into the function to be, now you like have access to this view and you can make whatever manipulations you want. And the view in question here is this button. So yeah, you can even decide to name it. If you don't want to use it, you can decide to name it like view. And yeah, this is one way of another thing that makes you look professional when writing Kotlin. Just we don't use the it. I can also like do the same here and say number. Then I just come here and say number plus number. So yeah, okay, it's just like a function, taking in another function. For example, this here is a very simple example of a high order function. It's taking in an integer and returning in an integer. So in this case, we give it like a number. Then this number, like, yeah, it adds itself, so it's still returning like more numbers. So I don't know if that answers the question. So that's pretty much the same thing that's happening here. It takes in a view, and you have access to that view from this area, this scope.
Okay, it's answered. Thank you.
Jump to the code. Yep. Yeah, high order functions also, yeah, require a bit of practice. So I don't know, a bit of reading a bit into how they're used. Yeah. So I guess everyone is okay with everything done. You understand everything. Nothing went over anyone's head. So I assume it's all good.
Okay. So I think if there are no questions, that means that all is well. And maybe before we end the session, I'm not sure if Winfred Grace is still on the call. She could probably say, give a remark, maybe, on what she's learned or how she felt the session was. So Winfred, are you on the call? Okay. Well, Daniel Moy. Is Daniel Moy on the call? Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel. Hey, Ivy. Probably just say thank you for the session. It's been informative. Please go make some other battles and do it later. Thank you though for the time,
Yeah.
Kundari. Thank you.
Sure, sure.
Sure.
Yeah, I totally
Totally
encourage everyone to look at other layouts, create as many different kind of layouts, play around with all the attributes as much as you can, like just get comfortable. Like, yeah, I'll just advise go get comfortable with creating screens, all the different layouts, text, drag and drop as much as you can. Just go crazy, go wild with the layouts and hooking up with the screens. Because yeah, I think from here on, it's be more on the logic, heavily on the logic side of things.
Okay, thank you, David and Daniel. Anyone else with a remark before we end the session?
Sorry, I think Martin Joroge has a question in the chat. I don't know if it has been answered.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't see that. Sorry. Martin is asking, can you repeat the part you created the Android hint?
The hint, you mean the hint on the edit text? I think I'll have to look at the question. So if it's about how I did the hint. Oh, okay. So I think you mean adding this string and the hint. So edit text. I think these are views which they act like some form. Probably you might have seen. Let me try and create one dummy one right now. Edit. Match parent. Content as usual. And I input type for this, maybe it's, let's say it's phone. And I want it to, like, if it's just this, no one knows anything about like what is this form field for. So there's this attribute called hint. I think it's exclusively only for edit texts. And I come here and write the hint is enter your phone number. So as you might notice, Android Studio is giving me like hard-coded string, blah, 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 should use string resource. Now, the reason why it's highlighting this is, so probably if you build your app and you have people who speak different languages, not everyone speaks English. You have like people who speak like Swahili, I don't know, Portuguese, German, etc. So we usually try and take this, extract this, then come to a file, as you can see from the project structure, when you come to resources, come to values, come to strings. So if you actually look at a project that has different languages, there'll be different strings files for different languages. There'll be one in English, one in, let me first, so by default, it's surely in English. So I'll just have to come here, create a new string, call it hint phone number, and then there, again, for consistency, I think I'll just call this hint enter the phone number. And then now I can use this in the hint, and I'll just come here, at, then next string, and then look for hint enter. Okay. I think I can know which one is which. Okay, your phone number. Now it's gone. So the benefit of doing this, let me show you how you don't have to know this right now, but let me just show you how. Let's say I have a new values resource file. So I'll just gonna call this strings. At this time, I'm going to use local, and let's say maybe I'm from Kenya. Let me see. We have Kenya here. Let me see. ABCD, yeah, Kenya. Local, specific to Kenya, and I choose the language. I say it's Swahili. Swahili, cool. Okay, Swahili, Kenya, cool. So so you can see we have like two strings, right? We have like the English by default. This is now the default, and whenever we are in like a Kenyan region and we are using Swahili, I'll just have to come here. I'll just copy paste this and come here and just say, I don't know what to say. You say like ingiza nambari yako. I'm not sure what they say, but yeah, or something of the sort. So like, as you can see, the ID is the same. So even if I have like Oops. Yeah, I think now that I've like created a Swahili, now I'll have to create like Swahili versions for all my strings. But it doesn't make sense for, yeah. Mawazo yako or something. So as you can see, if we had like 10, 20 different languages and it was hard coded, yeah, like we like wrote it over here, you can imagine how painful it is. But now that we have like this string reference ID, we don't care. We just like have to add a new string file, copy paste and change stuff. Yeah, we just have to like write a bunch of strings for every locale and that's it. It'll just like pick it up because they have the same ID. So that's why I did it that way. Yeah, if you don't want something to be translated, here's another handy tip. You can just set it to false. Like it doesn't make sense to change the app name to Swahili. Yeah, doesn't make sense. Can imagine like Twitter and WhatsApp trying to translate the app names to, I don't know, 10, 20 different languages. To be insane. Yeah, so I hope you've picked up a couple of tips, which I didn't think I'd be sharing today, but yeah.
Okay, Martin says thank you. So I guess he's answered. Anyone else with a question? Okay, so I think we can end the session. So thank you, David, for the wonderful session. I think I've learned a lot. For those who are new or for those who are not part of our WhatsApp group, I just shared the link to our WhatsApp group where you can get more information and probably more tasks on the theme on what David has taught. And I hope to see you guys in the next 2 weeks. So happy learning and enjoy the rest of your weekend. So bye. Thank you, David.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.